I got some extra income. So I'm heading to Hawaii with Alex and the gang starting today. I'll be back on Sunday. What? What are you talking about? Hawaii, what do you mean? The announcement from my husband was completely unexpected. I had never heard the word Hawaii mentioned before. What do you mean? It's exactly what I said. I don't understand what you mean by exactly what you said. What extra income? It's not bonus season. Ah, I found an envelope under your bed in the drawer. Turns out, secret savings do add up quite nicely. Thank you. I suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. You took it without saying anything? Come on, don't make it sound so bad. I was done for. I had been thinking about getting a safe. That money wasn't meant for that purpose. I remember now, when Alex and the others were over, we got excited about a Hawaii special on TV. Please take me with you, begged, so he must have found the money and decided to show off. Oh, it's about time to board. Sorry, I can't take you with me this time. Take care of Mom for me, will you? Wait, just let me say one last thing. That money isn't mine. You better sort it out yourself when you get back. Huh? What are you talking about? My husband raised his voice. I've put up with a lot since we got married, but this time, my patience was at its end. I'll make sure he regrets what he's done when he returns. My name is Emily, 54 years old. I've been running a bakery in a small rural town for 10 years, a dream of mine since forever. Despite its small size, many customers like it, and I live fulfilling days. I used to rent a room near the shop, but now I drive 40 minutes to get there. The reason is, I got married 5 years ago and started living with my husband's family. I've been married for 5 years, but I've known my husband for 12 years. I was attending a cooking class in a town where my friends-in-law live. The dishes the teacher made were exquisite, and I wanted to incorporate Italian tastes into my bakery's offerings. Mike, a friend of a friend's husband, was also attending the class. Surprisingly, Mike was the son of the cooking class teacher. He had a kind face similar to the teacher's, a sturdy build, and a somewhat clueless demeanor, all of which I found appealing. Emily, you're divorced too? Same here. I have a son. He's already grown up and left home, though. Really? I was young and foolish. Got married at 20 and divorced 2 years later. Since then, I've lost interest in marriage. Being alone is quite comfortable. I get it. We connected over being divorcees. So Emily, what do you do? I do home appliance delivery. You know, for that big electronics store in the next town. Wow, that physique must come with the job. I run a bakery. Really? That's awesome. I would love to try your bread sometime. Impressed by my self-employment, he truly came on his day off and bought a lot. From then on, he would occasionally stop by to chat, and always bought a large amount each time. Emily, your bread is incredibly delicious. I'll share it with my friends, and promote it for you. He was genuinely kind, and just as my friend's husband had said, it made sense that he had many friends. Initially, we were just friends, but gradually, we became aware of each other and started dating. Being with him brought a kind of happiness I could never have experienced alone, a warmth in my heart just from sharing the same view. The comfort of being together made our relationship last longer than I realized. It's been almost 3 years. Should we get married? Maybe even move the shop over here? I think I'm okay with how things are now. I'm not interested in marriage. It took a while for the shop to stabilize, so I want to keep at it here. I was thinking it would be nice to continue our relationship comfortably as it was. Not being married allowed us to respect each other more. Could I, as a wife, tolerate his drinking habits and reckless spending? I realized I definitely could not. However, I never imagined he could be so thoughtless and foolish. After we started dating, I got along well with his drinking buddies and started staying over at his family's house more often. Oh, Emily, welcome. His parents were like an uncle and aunt from the relatives, always welcoming me warmly. Susan, my mother-in-law, quit the cooking class a few years later, but we remained close, bonding over cooking. The father-in-law often asked, "When will you two get married?" But I always dodged the question. I had never seriously considered marriage until 6 years ago. It was when the father-in-law died in a traffic accident. Susan's grief was immense, and I started visiting more to offer my support. Emily, will you consider marrying Mike? Susan had never brought up marriage before. Perhaps she felt lonely in the house just with Mike. I understood her feelings, but I was still reluctant about marriage. Then one day, Susan broke a bone and had to be hospitalized after trying to change a light bulb. And falling, I decided to take care of Susan's hospital preparations and change her clothes, feeling that leaving it to Mike would only burden her. Emily, I'm sorry to trouble you. Don't worry about me, please take care of Mike. He never does household chores and skips meals to drink. Please look after him. I could understand a mother's concern for her son. Without supervision, Mike would likely spend his days drinking. Even after Susan's discharge, she wouldn't be able to move as before. Would she push herself too hard? Could Mike help with the household chores? These worries overwhelmed me. Emily, will you marry me? Perhaps, thinking the same, Mike asked me the day before Susan's discharge. Whether married or not, I knew I couldn't leave them alone. Especially as we all got older. With that realization, my mind was made up. When I told them of my decision to register our marriage, Susan was overjoyed, celebrating our wedding more than her own discharge. I felt truly happy. But marriage brought more stress than I anticipated. Mike would go out drinking twice a week after work, with many younger colleagues looking up to him as a senior. He would get carried away, inviting them out and covering the bill. It's fine. I'll cover it today. That desire to look good in front of others was one of his traits. On weekends, he would have drinks at home with close friends. I would join them sometimes, and it was clear everyone liked him. But when he got in a good mood, he would declare, "Today's on me," and pay the whole bill, irritating me. Some people took advantage of his generous nature, causing him to spend nearly half his salary on drinks each month. Hey, can you stop paying for everyone just because you're in a good mood? You're nearing retirement age. Have you thought about our life after retirement? We'll manage somehow since we have the house, even if we're out of money. But yeah, you're right. We're married now, so I'll be more careful. He says that, but he always drinks to the point of forgetting, so nothing ever changes. To continue working at the bakery, I ended up commuting 40 minutes by car. Living near the shop before, the daily commute was a significant physical burden. With a small shop, I need to sell efficiently to break even, feeling down on days with many unsold items. Emily, you're just not good at advertising. Can't you make something more eye-catching? If you keep making the same things as everyone else, people will get bored. Speaking down to me, who tries new things daily. I've been trying various things. You need to try harder. You're not putting in enough effort. Increasing sales isn't as simple as just trying harder. But I didn't want to waste energy arguing. My income should reduce your anxiety about low sales. His smug face irritated me, and the condescension stemming from his belief that he's the support was disappointing. Couldn't he imagine the exhaustion from the added commute and work? I would have been better off not marrying if it meant avoiding this stress. I was boiling with anger towards my husband, but the cause of my stress wasn't just that. The biggest source of my stress after getting married was his eldest son, Tommy, and his wife, Mila. Living 2 hours away by car, they made sure to visit at least once a month. When we were dating, I avoided the house during Tommy's visits. I never understood what he meant by kids will always be cute. They always arrived empty-handed, despite being in their 30s. Emily, what's for dinner today? I want fried chicken, he would say. It irritated me, but Tommy would get cocky when he drank, just like his father. Let's have fun drinking tonight. Did you gain more muscle? Can't believe you're almost 60, right? Even as his son, I think he has a great physique. They seemed to be flattering him, but Mike was all smiles and enjoyed being praised and relied upon. Once they were drunk, they would ask Mike for money behind my back, knowing it would be wrong to do so in front of me. Calling such a son cute for always asking for money was beyond me. They often took beer and groceries from our stock when they left the next morning. When I objected, they would say with a smirk, "Life's tough, let us off." It's normal for parents to help. Absolutely infuriating. Mike gives me $1,200 a month for household expenses, but I suspect he spends the rest on Tommy's family and drinks. Mike works hard and is sociable. Being his partner was fine, but his careless spending became unbearable after marriage. Does he seriously think this lifestyle can continue forever? He's only managed because he lived with his parents and relied on them. Such a spoiled attitude blurred the line between what's acceptable and what's not. After 5 years of marriage, I never imagined my 57-year-old husband would act so recklessly. One afternoon while tending the shop, I received a call from Mike, which was unusual during work hours. I got some extra income, so I'm heading to Hawaii with Tommy and the gang, starting today. I'll be back on Sunday. What are you talking about? Hawaii? What do you mean? His announcement was completely unexpected. I had never heard the word Hawaii before. What do you mean exactly? What I said, I don't understand exactly what you said. What extra income? It's not bonus season. Ah, I found an envelope under your bed in the drawer. Turns out secret savings do add up quite nicely. Thank you. I broke out in a cold sweat. What? You took it without saying anything? Hey, don't make it sound so bad. I was done for. I had been thinking about getting a safe. That money wasn't meant for that. I remember now when Tommy and the others were over, we got excited about a Hawaii special on TV. Please take me with you, begged Mila. So, he must have found the money and decided to show off. Oh, I should leave now. Sorry, I can't take you with me this time. Take care of Mom for me, will you? Wait, just let me say one last thing. That money isn't mine. You better sort it out yourself when you get back. Huh? What are you talking about? My patience was at its end. That money, it was entrusted to me by Susan. I'll let her know, so you better return it yourself when you get back. Hearing that, my husband laughed out loud unbelievably. Oh, that's all? If it's Mom's money, then it's no problem. I'll just say I took Tommy and the gang on a trip, and she'll forgive me. I'll have to buy lots of souvenirs then. Thank you. He said that and hung up the phone. What? What's with that? Thank you. Does he think we'll forgive anything? I felt dizzy and furious. I might be reaching my limit. I called Susan. When he returns, I'll make sure he deeply regrets what he's done. After work, I came home to Susan cooking dinner. Her Japanese cuisine is always exquisite. Emily, I'm so sorry I asked you to be with him. I never thought he could be so rotten. I'm really glad that wasn't your money. Susan bowed deeply. No, it's been a happiness to become family with you. Thank you. It's my fault for raising him wrong. It might be too late now given our age. I was surprised by what Susan said next, and I decided to join in on her plan. 5 days later in the evening, I'm home. Brought back lots of souvenirs. My husband returned as if nothing happened, laden with souvenirs. Mike, sit down over there. Eh? What's wrong? Are you mad I didn't take you? Sorry, but Hawaii was amazing. Cheer up with the souvenirs I brought. My husband, still high from his trip to Hawaii, was met with a sigh from Susan. Just sit down. Do you think you can do something like this without any consequences? What do you think that money you used was? Eh? What? It's Mom's stash, right? Tommy and everyone were happy. Isn't it? Facing our cold gazes, my husband finally seemed to realize something was wrong and sat down nervously. That was for my funeral expenses. After what happened to your father, I've become anxious about the uncertainties of life. Considering it's you, Mike, I presume there would be no substantial savings in case something happened to me. Funerals can be quite costly, you know. Is that so? Hearing it was for funeral expenses, my husband awkwardly scratched his head, feeling guilty. Indeed, that money was cash I had been entrusted with, in case anything happened to Susan, to avoid burdening me. Anyway, you would end up relying on Emily, wouldn't you? I'm responsible for spoiling you and making you into an adult without common sense. Did you enjoy Hawaii with your mother's funeral fund? My husband swallowed hard, overwhelmed by his mother's uncharacteristic demeanor. It's late, but you need to leave this house. I've already arranged an apartment for you, and your belongings have been moved. What are you saying? An apartment? I wouldn't leave you alone. No need to worry. I've signed a lease for a senior-friendly rental property. I plan to sell this house and eventually move into a facility. It's time for you to live independently. Unable to comprehend the sudden turn of events, my husband stared at Susan, with his mouth agape. Susan showed a fleeting expression of sadness before sternly saying, "By taking advantage of Emily's kindness and extracting money, you've committed theft and betrayal." My husband seemed startled upon hearing the word theft, finally realizing the gravity of his actions. Even within a family, Susan's money wasn't his to take. I never imagined that, after escaping your father, you'd turn out so foolish. His people-pleasing nature was a defense mechanism against his father's wrath, learning only to avoid unpleasant situations. I regret entrusting you to responsible Emily and exploiting her kindness. In that sense, I'm complicit. My husband hung his head in shame. I don't feel exploited by Susan's kindness. I had some idea of what married life would entail, but I chose to become a family with Mike and Susan, regardless. I've also been considering divorce. My affection for you has completely dried up because of what you did. Surprised by my words, my husband looked up, bewildered. That money was for Susan's emergencies. If I were to fall ill, could you help me? You're always drunk, and we have no money. I can do it. The money? Mom's there, right? We have savings, don't we? Relying on others again? With the drinking parties funded from the household budget, how much do you think we can save? If I have to manage everything myself, what's the point of staying with you? My husband's face turned pale as he started to sweat, stammering excuses. I handed him the divorce papers. Just sign this for now. Whether I file it will depend on your actions from here on. This can't be happening. Why is it leading to divorce? I admit, taking the money was wrong, but I never imagined it would come to this. I wish I hadn't gone to Hawaii. Indeed, my husband lacked imagination. He hadn't considered mine or Susan's feelings or the consequences of his actions. It's because we're married that I can't tolerate your recklessness anymore. I refuse to be burdened by your carefree lifestyle and then be expected to look after you in your old age. You've lost my trust. Saying this, I called one of my husband's friends who had agreed to help. He was going to take my husband to the apartment, prepared for him to live alone. We live in a small rural town. With Susan's wide network, finding an available apartment was easy for her. Once Susan moves out, I'll rent a place near my shop. We might not see each other again after that. No, I don't want this. I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to be apart from you. My husband started crying like a child, throwing a tantrum. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I don't want to be away from you. I want to be with you forever. I looked at him with cold eyes. What is a 57-year-old doing acting like this? Then sign the divorce papers now. If you don't sign them right this moment, I'll never see you again, and I'll involve a lawyer. My husband begged, please don't file these. As he signed the divorce papers, I don't want to be apart. I knew that was his true feeling. But if I forgave him now, he would revert to his carefree self by tomorrow, leaving me to bear all the stress alone. Being swayed by my husband, as his wife, was something I could no longer tolerate. Emily, as my husband was taken away in the car, crying out loudly. Susan and I watched him leave. That feels so refreshing. We should have done this sooner. Then maybe Tommy would have turned out a bit better. Susan chuckled, then sniffled. I'll give Tommy a piece of my mind over the phone so Emily, you don't have to see him ever again. Thanks, Susan. The living room, now devoid of my husband, was left with only the souvenirs from Hawaii. That night, Susan and I enjoyed her cooking along with the Hawaiian souvenirs, drinking and talking together. A year has passed since then and we haven't divorced yet. The condition I set for not divorcing was returning the $12,000 to Susan and saving an equal amount for emergencies. Paying rent and living expenses, while repaying the debt and saving, would make it difficult for him to continue his previous habits of going out for drinks and treating everyone. Since my husband stopped giving money to Tommy and his wife, they've stopped contacting him entirely. Susan's demand to repay the money for the Hawaii trip also played a part. Losing financial support meant losing the relationship. This reality hit my husband hard when his own son showed no further interest. Despite this, I hope he cherishes the friends who remain by his side. Susan gave me a 7-figure sum as property division. She figured leaving too much for my husband might not be the best thing in case of emergencies. Of course, if we don't divorce, she wants us to use it for our old age. Even after moving to a senior-friendly rental, Susan and I remain close, visiting each other twice a month. We're even planning a trip together. As for my husband, we occasionally meet for meals or drives. Living alone, he's finally learned to clean and do laundry. Even for one person, housework takes so much time. I never realized how much I relied on my mom and Emily. And saving money is quite hard. Recently, I've started to see changes in my husband. Today, I'm busy baking bread from early in the morning. Having rented a house near my shop, I've been freed from the stress of commuting. Watching my husband's transformation, I think for now, staying separated might be just fine.